I'm pleased to welcome Dr. Khalid Mumin, the current superintendent of the Reading School District in Pennsylvania, to Leaders Learning from Leaders. Dr. Mumin served as the Reading School District Superintendent from 2014 to 2021 before taking on other leadership roles, including Pennsylvania's Secretary of Education. He holds a Doctor of Education in Educational Leadership from the University of Pennsylvania, a Master's of Education in Teaching and Curriculum from Pennsylvania State University, and a Bachelor of Arts in Secondary English Education from Shippensburg University. Dr. Mumin was Dr. Mumin was selected as the Pennsylvania Superintendent of the Year by the Pennsylvania Association of School Superintendents, and he was recognized as a National Superintendent of the Year finalist by the School Superintendents Association. He returned to Reading School District to serve as superintendent in July of 2025. Welcome, Khalid.
Thank you so much, Steve. I'm so happy to be here today.
I'm wondering if you'd start us off with a little bit of background information about the Reading School District.
Oh, absolutely. Well, the Reading School District here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is the fourth largest district in the Commonwealth, the third largest urban district. We have approximately 18,000 students. We fluctuate between 17,500 to 18,500 students. Our demographics here, we are a district that is 88% Latino. Here, Latino and Hispanic here in the Commonwealth. And our students, we are we're underserved district in regards to funding and regards to socioeconomic status. We are a district that is, 100% free and reduced meals, where many of our students live in poverty, and we have it scaled in three levels: poverty, acute poverty, poverty, and acute poverty. But one thing that resonates deeply here is the pride that Reading has in the opportunities that the school system presents in regards to providing students with the opportunity to chart their own course when they graduate from Reading High to Castle on the Hill. A beautiful community we're about 45 miles outside of Philadelphia. Sitting in between Philly and Harrisburg. Harrisburg, which is our capital. We're in close proximity to New York City, very close proximity into Maryland. It's just a great area to be in here in Pennsylvania because we can get anywhere, get everywhere in a matter of a couple of hours.
So, looking back at those first years that you served as superintendent in Reading, what were some of the key issues that you had to tackle during those years, and what carries over that's kind of the same today, or what's different today from your first term there?
My first time around here in Reading, it was a big push to understand our changing demographics. Our Latino students. It was a progression of Latino students entering and families entering Reading over the past 20 years, where we went from 10% Latinos to 80% when I was here the first time around. And so, from that standpoint, it gave us an opportunity to look at how we educate students who are coming from diverse backgrounds, taking a look at how our standardized assessments don't clearly indicate or give clear indicators of the possibilities of success for our children. So, changing the narrative from focusing simply on standardized testing to moving to a constructivist view where students are demonstrating their learning by doing was one of my major focus areas. Secondly, we had to look at communication and engagement. We really stepped out there. We wanted to be a district where we're not communicating simply to our parents, students, and community, but it was reciprocal, where weren't simply an outbox. We were consumers of information, and we're able to establish communication pathways where it's reciprocated. Also, operational effectiveness, financial and operational effectiveness was a huge task to really overcome because At the time, Pennsylvania did not have a process for fair funding here in Pennsylvania, and I'm quite sure that'll come out in our discussions from then to now throughout some of the questions in this engagement. And so looking at funding and saying we need resources, and it takes a little bit more when you're dealing with students or at leading students from underserved communities. Also trying to attract and retain teachers, attract, recruit, and retain teachers was an issue. So we had a lot of things in the hopper at that time. And lastly, which came to be one of our most important points to our success, was re-engaging our partners, saying, this is the Reading School District. We are the city of Reading. We are your partner. And look, we have immediate workforce ready students here that are graduating from our high school. So it was a combination of really five things, to be succinct. Safe and supportive schools, academics, looking at academic achievement, communication and engagement, finance and organizational effectiveness, and partnerships. So we had a lot going on back in 2014, and we yielded some very positive results over the years.
So I was just going to check. It sounds like you had a lot to learn and a lot to do during that time frame.
Absolutely. And the thing about leadership, which is so powerful, is that I found back then my success really was dependent on how much I knew about the community, how much we were bringing the community and the partners in, how much we were listening to student voice and parent choice to be able to make these decisions. So having, it's cliche saying having an open door policy was one of the major conduits for our success. But what I mean by open door is this: it's not simply the door is open and you walk into the office and meet with the superintendent. It's the superintendent, the administration, the teachers, the support staff. We're in the community, which makes us accessible. And so that was extremely important, because when families and students get to see you in unstructured times in the community, you're able to really cash in on that investment of relationship building. And so that's what I mean by open door. We were everywhere, and I was everywhere in this community and really enjoying myself. I wanted to be with the people, and had a lot of fun doing it. A lot of fun doing it, and have established some very positive and sustainable friendships and relationships over the years.
So I'm wondering how you carried what you learned and accomplished during those years into the role of Secretary of Education for the state.
Wow, that's a great question, Steve. Back in 2014, as you hear my messaging and I talk about the five areas, it was more around advocacy for our learners. It was more around, advocacy for resources, advocacy for fair funding. And we were very fortunate that, years ago, this was 2015, we were in the throes of an impasse with the state government here, and for funding. In the Reading School District, we received close to 90% of our funding from the state. And during that impasse, I had an invitation to meet with some of the legislators in regards to what a fair funding formula would look like and how it could benefit students in the Reading School District and other urban districts, as well as rural school districts here in the Commonwealth. And our one sheeter was presented on the floor of the House and the Senate. And when the budget passed, the fair funding formula was launched here in the Reading School District with then Governor Wolf. Second time around, which is like a dream come true, I met with Governor Shapiro, our current governor here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and he said, "What is your vision for education, Dr. Mumin?" And I'm going, my hands are going. I'm talking about the five areas. I'm talking about advocacy and all that. And he said, we're gonna get stuff done." I said, "Oh my goodness." And sure enough, day one on the job, after his inauguration speech, we were off and running. And what I learned at that level is that, when looking at schools holistically, schools are pretty much the same things, whereas students want opportunities, parents want opportunities and choice. Resources are of paramount importance, and hiring highly qualified teachers, everyone wants that in the Commonwealth. And what I learned at state government, which has helped me in this role now, is that we don't have to, and I'm a former basketball player. There is a move called a pump fake. And so you pump fake to try to get the defender in the air, and then you create a move, or complete a move. But sometimes you have players who pump fake and pump fake and pump fake, pump fake, pump fake just to pass the ball. And what I learned with the leadership of Governor Shapiro, it's like, here's the idea. Is it good for kids? Is it good for the community? Can we do this? Let's go. Let's stop with the pump faking, shoot the ball. And that is something I learned that I bring back with me today. If the plan is fiscally responsible, is good for students, our teachers have, we have the opportunity for our teachers to get the professional development to move with these techniques and skills. And we are the voice of advocacy for our children and influential leaders, forming these positive relationships where it's a community thing, that when one student graduates, that means we all graduate. We can do it quickly and efficiently. And that's what I learned, which mapped on to some of my prior experiences where I talk about the three E's. Empowerment, that means hiring good leaders. Efficiency, effectiveness. Without the pump fakes. Let's go. E, E, E. E, E, E. One, two, three. No pump fake, pump fake, pump fake, just to pass. We got to shoot the ball because, the ball is in our court to provide opportunities of access, opportunities of workforce success, opportunities of success at our higher ed institutions. We hold that ball. Don't pump fake and hold it. Don't pump fake and hold it. Shoot the ball and give our students the opportunity to succeed.
As I'm listening to you, you use the word we rather frequently.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
I'm gonna ask you that. I'm sure that's part of your leadership. So talk a little bit about that.
Yes, there is. There's an old saying that says there is no I in team. But then when you flip that, some people say, but there's a M and a E. you know, and I believe that leadership never should rely solely on one leader. You have to have you have to have very smart and very smart people in the room, people who are going to challenge the leader to step outside of the box. You're going to be challenged to have staff members that are able to say, "Hey, I'm sorry, Dr. Mumin, that idea is old like gold. We're talking about platinum now." And you have to be open and reflective of that. I say we because I try my best to hire the very brightest and competent professionals to have in the room to be as thought partners in this work. Leaders that are not only masters of the Socratic seminar, but they are also masters of implementation. My goal is to empower them to do their jobs because when they're empowered and they have the resources, that makes us more efficient as a system, which gets to student effectiveness more quickly. I recognize that as a leader, and I'm okay with that. My job is to stay out I stay out in the head looking visionary. This is what the future looks like. This is how we have to continually prepare our students. But the experts in the room, those are the ones that get us to full implementation and get us moving efficiently and quickly. I know this isn't work that I could do all by myself. And any leader, I would be remiss if I didn't say this. If you hear a leader that says it all falls on me, I'm the end all be all to this and that, and it's simply an authoritative stance of leadership, grab your bags and run. Run fast. You have to have great minds around you in the room. Great minds in regards to your planning. Great minds to give you alignment, to provide alignment and resources for your visionary aspects of this work. So, yes, I depend on my team heavily, and I'm very proud of them, especially for the successes we've had over the years and the new challenges we're going to embark upon now.
Well, that That word challenges takes me into the next question I wanted to ask. What do you see as, I guess I want to ask some of the challenges that people at that superintendent level across the country are facing today, but
Hmm.
I don't want to miss challenge without putting on the word opportunity uh, with it.
Hmm. Hmm. And wow, I think challenges are they're part of the makeup of leadership. If everything was easy, we wouldn't have leaders that stand out front that have to create vision and create strategy to address issues. Um, I hearken back to when we talk about challenge and opportunity. I hearken back to a quote by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., where he says, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy." That's leadership. Leaders have to embrace the challenges that are ahead, and be able to navigate challenge and change. Challenge and change. It's something I can't really quantify or describe it as a recipe, so to speak. It happens in the now. And I think that there is a statement that I use here in my leadership in the district. I say, with change, there's loss, comma, and opportunity. Very similar with challenges. With challenges, challenges may require change, and opportunity presents opportunities. So being the leader out front, you always have to have that intrinsic motivation to say that here's the challenge, and we will see our way through this challenge for the betterment of our students and student success. So it's something that drives me as a leader. Challenges really drive me, and so when I'm working with my colleagues, or if I'm doing some mentoring or presenting, I always, and again, I hearken back again to athletic examples. I think of Michael Jordan, all right? I think of Michael Jordan, who seemed to reach his apex as a champion, decides he wants to play baseball, goes off and plays baseball. Oh boy, I'm going back to the Bulls. Here's another big challenge, and wins again.
Yeah.
Sometimes leaders have to create their own boogeyman to stay agile, to stay agile, to stay informed, to stay visionary. This is an athletic example that I will use, and I am a Philadelphia Eagles fan. Eagles, Eagles. I am an Eagles fan. All right, and I wear that proudly. However, one of the best quarterbacks that I have ever seen in the game is Tom Brady of the New England Patriots. Why? Because Tom Brady, he was not like Peyton Manning, who would go up and do diagnostic work at the line and call the defenses out. Nope, nope, nope. Tom Brady goes into the huddle, has a plan, steps back in that pocket, goes to implement that plan, delivers the ball while in the pocket on the numbers, knowing he's going to take a hit. Knowing he's going to take a hit. That's how I map that onto to challenges presenting great opportunities. Yes, it's a challenge being in the pocket and you have five or six 300-pound linemen coming after you, but the plan is already in motion. Delivering the ball on the numbers while taking the hit, and moving the downs, moving down the field. That's leadership in a nutshell. You have to be prepared and equipped to embrace the challenges of controversy, but knowing that once you get through that controversy, if you have a well-designed plan and you're rolling with that plan with fidelity, you're going to hit that. You're going to hit your team member on the numbers, and you're going to move the chains first down. Let's go. Keep it moving.
There's a phrase that I use, that there is no mountaintop in teaching or leading
That's
or
right.
learning or learning.
That's
And
right.
if you've chosen to come into this education field, you don't need to worry about hitting mastery prior to retirement.
That's a good way to look at it.
There's always another next piece there for you.
That's right. And that commitment of being a lifelong learner.
Yeah.
And Steve, I think about the teaching certificates here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And, when you're a new teacher, and this was back in the 1900s when I was a new teacher, um, you look at your certificate, you enter the classroom with great energy, great joy, and you want to help change the world. And I always remember from my certificate, it says, um, um, Khalid Mumin is certified in the art of teaching in the subject of English. The art of teaching.
Powerful.
So when you think of it that way, you're an artist. Every teacher, every educator is an artist. And, very similar to Flannery O'Connor when she would write, she would always use broad strokes, imagery, colors. All of her covers of her books had peacocks on them. Whereas each author, or in this case, educator, is an artist. And everyone's strokes aren't going to look the same. Everyone is not going to have the same penmanship. Everyone's not going to follow the same design plan letter for letter because that's not good teaching. You have to have the artistry to step outside of the box, make adjustments, and do what's right for your students so they have the opportunity to succeed. And that's the beauty of education, of especially strong pedagogy and instruction. But when you get into the leadership position, you have to wear that on your sleeve that there is no one prescribed way to get to success. You have to examine several techniques and look at several tools over and over again to get to that desired outcome. You have to be an artist in this role.
So the art of the superintendency.
Yes, the art of the
Cool.
superintendency.
Cool. Just one other piece as I've been listening to you, as you describe what you're working to make happen for the educators, it seems to line up for me that you're talking the same for your students. The idea of challenge and opportunity is
That's right.
what you're preparing your students for.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. And there's a gift. There's a gift within controversy. When you overcome controversy, when you overcome a barrier, it builds resiliency. And resiliency cannot be quantified. Resiliency is something that's established through experience. That's my thinking there. So when you are able to work with a young person where they're able to navigate through various experiences, some being extremely successful, some causing great challenge, what comes out at the end is a stronger, more confident learner. And so as we are committed as leaders, as lifelong learners, we have young people who we're trying to get into the mix as that lifelong learner. Life is going to be filled with learning experiences. And I look at it like this. It's similar to running a marathon, and it took me years to understand this. I never knew that marathon runners actually had teams. Like a team that's, a team of runners, they're running together. And their goal is to get one of their teammates across the finish line. So they'll get into formation where they're blocking wind for their teammate. They get into formations where they're giving, they're coaching, they're running faster in certain points to have that one teammate, step up the pace, knowing that we're all working together collectively for this one runner to get across the finish line. And I look at educators as this. The educators are the participants that are sometimes on that team and most of the time on the sidelines. Whereas runners are running and they're providing the potassium, they're throwing in the bananas, they're providing the electrolytes, throwing in the electrolyte drinks to them and coaching them. You got 2.5 miles left. Let's go. And then they take an interval with the runner to keep that one runner moving forward to get across that finish line. That's education in a nutshell. Our jobs are to first lead, to present opportunities of access, to present opportunities of ideas of what success looks like when you complete. But it's diverse. You have to be able to lead, you have to be able to support, you have to be able to push, you have to be able to motivate, because the end result is you want a graduate that walks across this stage prepared to engage in this ever-changing society. And like I said earlier, I was open by saying my first year teaching was in the late 1900s. Okay. Um, Teaching in the late 1900s looks a lot different than 2025. The professions and the workforce is different now. When you have students and you say, what do you want to be when you grow up? Well, I want to be a content creator. Wow. If that's the case, we have to provide access to that. I want to be another one is I want to be a computer programmer. So what type of programmer are you talking? Well, I have this idea of a game that I've been thinking of. Okay, we have to be equipped with that through our STEM careers. You have students, which I love education today. Some of the things that I have access to and exposure to, if I was able to have the tools that that we're providing for our students, like cadaver boards, I probably would have gone into the health sciences. My mother tried to push me into health sciences, and I told her, Mom, I'm not good at science. I'm a good patient. Not, I see myself as a good long-term patient, not a doctor. But if I had a cadaver board, okay, just think of this. I was educated in the late 1900s. We didn't have cadaver boards. We had the game Operation that was not interactive. Cadaver boards where you're able to see real human figures, real bones, real organs, and you're able to manipulate them and get to a desired outcome. If I had that opportunity to demonstrate with hands-on learning like that, I probably would have gone into the health sciences, as my mother suggested. So we have to be able to stay agile and out front in regards to the trends of what our workforce looks like, in front of the trends and what our opportunities look at, how they look in higher ed. And also something that I've been talking about all week with students when I meet with them. I am just fascinated. I live through their lives vicariously with this. The sense of being an entrepreneur. Like, I come from a generation where it was good to be seen but not heard. This generation now, they want to be seen and heard and heard and seen and heard over and over again. They are very comfortable with exercising voice, which I'm just it's phenomenal to see, especially when they have articulate articulate discussions around their areas of focus. I just sit back and smile from ear to ear.
Well, before we close out, there's one phrase I wanted to run by you. As I was doing my homework to get ready for the podcast, I got a chance to look at several clips of you that I could find online, and the word believing comes up.
Mm.
And so I wanted to give you a chance to talk about where that fits into your leadership.
Wow. Believe it comes down to, I look at leadership and, well, educational leadership. Sometimes you have to look at the person in the mirror and reflect upon why you entered the profession or the art of teaching. And so the piece of understanding that you have major influence, you have a major responsibility of having your fingerprints on the design of teaching, learning, pedagogy, and instruction, and your fingertips in regards to supporting students to reach their full potential. And sometimes we forget that because there are a lot of things that come down the pike. There's a lot of, you have a lot of new initiatives. You have a lot of, ebbs and flows in regards to curriculum and instruction and new techniques. And, the careers are changing right before our eyes. But we entered this profession for a reason with a purpose. And so believe, when I say believe, it's having the confidence, that intrinsic motivation to know that you are equipped as an educator with the head and heart alignment to do this work. You are one of the chosen ones. You are an educator. You are extremely important. And I really honed in on believe when I would hear teachers say, I say, so, Steve, so what do you do for a living? Well, I'm only a third grade teacher. Only? No, no. All when you think of opportunities, when you think of adjusting to the workforce of today, the workforce of the future, when you think of trends and ideas, and of course, when you're getting on that scholarly level of ideas, everything begins in the education system, whether it's education in a school, whether it's education at home, whether it's education in the community. And leaders, which when in those settings, I always say are educators, you know, you have to have the belief that you have the power to change the world. The future depends on us to be able to equip our learners with the tools they need to have opportunity and access to compete in this ever changing society. It's never only this or only that. You are, you are, you are a power of paramount importance in this journey called education of lifelong learning. So,
Thank you. Thank you so much.
my pleasure.
There's just been a delight to uh, to have this conversation with you. What's the easiest or most preferred way if there's listeners who want to drop a question off to you? How would you like them to connect with you?
You can go through any of the social media handles. I'm on Instagram as Dr. Khalid Mumin. I'm on LinkedIn,
And
Dr. Khalid Mumin. Those two are easier to manage. Facebook is just all types of stuff comes in there in direct message. So
we'll
I would say probably LinkedIn.
we'll post both of those in the podcast. Make it easier for folks to find.
Oh,
Thank you.
fantastic.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. This has been a pleasure. It's always good to talk about education and the opportunities and the infinite possibilities of success for our learners. So I'm just so happy to be here to be able to share a few words.